to WROL Broadcast. I am Hate Mail. With me today we have M4,
Hello, everyone.
Loot,
Hey guys.
Kage,
What's up, everybody?
and Sheriff Lobo.
Hello, everyone.
And we are doing our June tier list. It's still June, isn't it? Yeah, one more day. At the time of this recording, so we don't have reworks or anything else to talk about. So if this comes out after the reworks go live, that's why they are not on here. And let's go ahead and get started. The toon of the month, Sheriff Lobo. Siege toon of the month, excuse me.
I'm going to say Terra. I mean, honestly, Black Flash, but we'll go with Terra. So, I mean, what she adds to any team is great. She has lots of defenses. She does a great job of keeping your team from getting stunned, from surviving. So I think she was on every team that I fielded. So I'm voting for Terra.
Loot, how about you?
I'm going a slightly different direction with this. So I'm going to start it by saying the worst toon of the month and then the best toon of the month, okay? The worst toon of the month, the WB developers. You broke the game, okay? The best toon of the month. But really, the toon of the month was Terra. And I have nothing different to say than Sheriff Lobo.
How about you, Kage?
Terra.
M4?
It's rough. Okay, so the best tune of the month is hands down Terra, but the best tune for Siege, the tune that they brought to every single match is Kid Flash, and I can't believe it. In the absence of a taunter, he is great.
Yeah, I used him a lot. I would say my tune of the month was probably Starfire. I used her more than I used, I think, any other character in Siege. But I can't argue with the other two. It was a pretty solid month, character-wise. The Siege was challenging for the first couple days, and then it settled into a pretty boring routine.
Yep, I have two teams on speed dial and just either Martian Manhunter or not Martian Manhunter. That's it.
The team I used repeatedly was DOJ, Starfire, Terra, and Barda, and that took care of like the 95% of the Martian and Black Flash teams I had on my board. So as long as my taunters procced, I was just fine.
I was going to say, that only works if your taunter procs, which my Barda has decided she's no longer procking. I think I actually completely regret taking her RB5. She never, ever procs now. Right, so it looks like Terra is the toon of the month. I'm going to put that on here. And let's go ahead and rate Terra. We will start with you, M4.
S tier, easy. Hal Jordan who? She's, I don't know. She just, I don't see a reason to use Hal Jordan anymore, and maybe even Steppenwolf, because now you have Terra and the choice for either Lex, Martian Manhunter, Darkseid, and then I hate this because she also prevents one-hit KOs for Shiva and possibly even Batwoman because of the shields and the 4 agility ups. And then also she just destroys evasion.
And I can't even run Spectre anymore.
Spectre, because of the heal immunity, doesn't work anymore.
No, the Purge on his 2. It's not as so many purges from.
Because
there's from the Purge.
Yeah, there's 9, I believe, off the bat.
Yeah.
The only downside to Terra is that she invites a certain Amazonian back into the forefront. But otherwise, she's amazing.
I will go next because I'm the only one who didn't vote S. I was going to vote S, and then I kind of went down to A, high A, like A+, because I still like Hal better overall because of the 2 turns. And even though she's super, super good, I hate her because of Wonder Girl, so I give her an A. Because Wonder Girl's on every team again. And it drives me crazy. Even though, surprisingly, in Wraith, I don't really see Terra. I'm surprised I'm not seeing her, but I'm not seeing much of her. It kind of shocks me. Sheriff Lobo?
I was kind of on the fence. I almost went A. I mean, I like what both of you guys said. I really struggled with this. She shuts down Harley Quinn, who was just the most annoying toon in the game. She gets Dark Side going immediately, which is really good. And even, kind of to your point with Hal Jordan's two-turn buff immunity, Terra can use her, shield up move on her first turn. So essentially, if you do that, she gets two-turn, debuff immunity to the team. Her damage can be surprisingly good at times, but it's not super impressive. When she double taps that AoE, it can be pretty devastating to your reds. I feel like her meltdown move is a big letdown. It doesn't seem to work with the rest of her kit. They kind of like butt heads a little bit because she has all that debuff immunity, so it keeps her from getting debuffs a lot of times. And then you would think that meltdown would be like really devastating damage, but it doesn't seem to do much. So I'm kind of on the fence, but I would lean more towards S, because just any team that you put her in, she makes so much better and so tanky.
Loot.
So I really don't have a lot to say that's any different. I mean, she replaces multiple toons in one, and she's not a leader. So just that fact alone, she qualifies for S tier. She's got some other cool things that her kit does with the heal immunity is really nice. The meltdown's a letdown, but that purge that she does on herself is super useful. So even though she doesn't hurt anybody really, at least at like our level of play, I mean, usually the enemy team's super rebirthed and tanky as they are, so it doesn't really do much damage, but it does do the purge, which is good.
I don't know, her 3 does pretty good damage.
No, her 3's great. I'm talking about that meltdown thing.
Oh, yeah.
Her 3's good. Her AoE is good. I like it, especially when it double hits. Thing's awesome. So, to me, it's an easy S. That's it.
Any other thoughts, Kage?
I got nothing.
All right, moving on. Batman, World's Greatest Detective. And we will start. Let's start with you this time, Kage.
So soon. Okay. I think I was on the fence of having him as A or B, just because you really see his strengths pull through with this event, with like his turn cooldowns and everything, and giving someone 100% turn meter, and the full his kit has a lot in there. My only problem is sometimes he's a bit slow, so if you want to get that true sight right away, he's not fast enough to give it. So I think it's mostly his speed and his damage that kind of let me down, but he's a utility character, right? So you're not even worried about the damage. When I'm fighting those dark side Terra, Barda, Azrael team, it's just not doing enough. He's not doing enough against Barda or dark side. It just, you got to bring in like a stronger red or a stronger green to deal with those two. So when I saw that team coming up, like I saw the Lex World's Great Detective Wonder Girl team was doing pretty good, but not super consistent. World's Great Detective isn't super consistent. He doesn't fit a lot of situations for me to want to bring him to a match anyway. So I'm going for B.
Sheriff Lobo?
Yeah, I agree with what Kage says. He has some really useful moves with the true sight, nice purges, turn meter, heal, immediate turn, but he's kind of too niche and other reds are too powerful. He dies too easily. He doesn't have a lot of survivability. And I would say really his leader is so non-impressive. Like when I was typing my notes up, I had to look it up because I used him as leader all siege, but I had no idea what it does because you just don't even notice that it does anything, and those awarenesses rarely seem to pop up. So I give him a B.
An M4, or it's actually Luke, let's have you go before M4.
Just for clarity, what did I rate him as?
A B.
A B. So I'm just gonna. It's gonna sound silly, but everything that Sheriff just said, I 100% agree with. I almost even want to make him a C. His damage is terrible. So like, you just can't even hurt Darkseid. It's not. He does absolutely nothing. And that purge move, like his AoE, it's not great. It's only if you're fighting someone that has invisibility, I think it's pretty good. But there were no toons this siege that had invisibility at all. So it
That's
almost like
Manhunter.
didn't even work. Yeah, but
Manhunter has
I'd never brought him to a Martian Manhunter fight.
Okay, fair enough.
Like, not at all. So, I don't know. To me, he was, like, useful just to get the extra 2 points. But other than that, I don't think he brings anything, especially when the toons are faster, and I think Kid Flash really kind of made that happen. When the toons are faster, his moves don't go fast enough. They're good skills, but because he's slow, you don't benefit from them quick enough. If his speed base were bumped up, I think he could possibly be even the greatest utility toon there is in the game. But because he's slow, he's not.
So you're saying he could be the world's greatest detective?
I actually do believe that. I do. If he were fast, like just under the speed of a speedster, I would say he's flat out amazing. But because he's slow, he's just not there.
M4, I'm more in line with you, which surprised me this siege. So why don't you go next?
Okay, so I missed what Kage and Sheriff said. Had some audio issues, but all right. In the past, I have dinged people that don't have passives, kind of like like Hippolyta. But in recent months, I have been enlightened that all right, active moves are also important, and I don't think the speed is a problem for World's Greatest Detective. I think it's actually beneficial. Uh, if people go ahead and use their moves, their more important moveset, then he can reduce the cooldown. If he were faster than most, then you would just benefit from the true sight, not from the cooldown move. And if you use him as a damage dealer, you'll be severely disappointed. However, if you want to control the match, I use him in tandem with Kid Flash, and most of my matches, the enemy never go. They never take a turn. Just give the 100% to Kid Flash or even himself, and he procs Starfire's passive, and then he can use his cooldown move, then has a potential to get turn meter, and then he also gets the 2 affinity power-ups, which makes Starfire hit even harder against Reds. So, and then the purges, he has a lot going on for his kit. I can't believe I didn't vote him an A in the past. Just because of that, his stupid leader, which also happens to be useful sometimes. So I don't think those are detriments. I think they're just what keeps him from being an S tier character.
I also voted A. I think he's way better than I ever realized, and I ended up using him a ton this siege, and I was surprised. He pairs really well with Starfire because of the heal.
He does.
And and granted his damage is kind of low, but the buff purging, the true sight, the that 100% Terminator move is just so strong, and I've done a full 360 on him.
You mean 180? 360 you'd be back where you started.
360 is a circle, brother.
All right, moving on to.
Wait, what's our verdict? We still lost Phil, right?
He's still a B, according to the Discord. We don't have June in up here, by the way.
Oh, dang it! I'll fix that field time. Right,
okay,
keep going.
So moving on, we will go to Blackfire, and I will start with her. I do really like her. She's a fun character. However, because the speed meta still dominates in such a fashion that you can get hit and still never get a turn and never get to do anything, I voted her a B tier. I think she's a high B, but she's B tier. She's tanky. She can do great damage after getting hit, but her damage does kind of stink without it. A lot of characters surprisingly have shields, so you can get the stun off pretty regularly. Her purge move is pretty awesome. That calls assist, but because it's random, you don't always get what you want with that. And I do like on her 3 her debuff immunity, but she's still a character that you need a little bit of extra work to make her work. So and there's going to be a lot of better choices with just greens being so ridiculously good that she's not a super high tier character. So with all that, I do like her. I think they did a good job. I wish they would have gave her just a little bit more. But until Black Flash, Azrael teams, Lex, Black Flash, Azrael teams, abate at some point one day in the future, it's just not a... She still gets eaten up a little too quickly. M4, let's go with you this time.
All right. I played with her a lot last night, trying to figure out what makes her tick. And I'm going to be honest, I was so close to voting her at C tier. I'm right on the fence. So he gains the 4 empowered strength ups, but my god, without it, she barely does any damage. And even with 16 freaking empowered strength ups, she cannot still guarantee a one-hit KO, which is surprising. Maybe you're just jaded because of being RB4, but she doesn't really hit that hard. And in order to get her that high, you need to give her a lot of support, like taunt or maybe fight a heavy AoE team. And then, I don't know what if she's not good for damage, maybe utility. But her 3 removes enemy shields, which her basic wants, so she can stun. The one move that's really good is the overheal and call assist and apply crit immunity. That's what I think made her be for me. But otherwise, I would just use Starfire. Although she supports her sister very well. If she heals, procs Star Sapphire, and calls her for assist, it's game over for the enemy. I think that's what she is. She's a support character, and not a very good one after she uses her too.
Sheriff Lobo?
Yeah, I agree with what both of you have said about her being B, and like you want her to get hit and get those strengths up, but sometimes she still can't pull off that damage. And one of the things that really excited me about her kit was that, buff immunity when an enemy shields. So she's kind of billed as anti-shields, but even that doesn't work great because if you think about Hal Jordan, Terra, Arcus, Azrael, they all have that debuff immunity, so her move is useless against them. If that buff immunity was like 100% when shielded or purge immunities and then apply buff immunity, she would be a great, I think, counter to Arcus and Azrael, but as it is, she's a little disappointing.
Kage?
I agree with what Sheriff Lobo said. I think her utility is a little limited. Right. On paper, you're thinking, yeah, Arcus is going to buff, Azrael's going to buff, and then they get that slap with the debuff immunity, buff immunity. But it I don't know. You're looking at chance a lot of the time. You can't predict if they're gonna use their shield move or if they're gonna use like their nuke moves. So you have no idea what they're gonna do. So those kits are way too strong to rely on her for that buff immunity. But say later in the match when their debuff immunity falls off or their true sight falls off or whatever, it can be useful. I think I 1v1 them for a while. That takes a while to whittle down their health. I think I also went 2v2 with a Hal Barda team with my own Hal and Blackfire, and that took about 10 minutes to finish. But eventually the stuns on her basic paid off, but Jesus Christ. I would never use her again on Barda because she's way too tanky. So overall, I think she's okay. C+, B-, somewhere around there.
And Luke, you didn't gear her, correct?
I didn't, and after you guys talking, I am absolutely furious that I geared her for the raid.
In the raid, she's probably not going to be useful because unless...
I'm furious. You have no idea. Like, the way you guys were talking about her through Siege and you took her to freaking RV4, I'm like, wow, finally a Siege toon that's worth gearing. So I geared her yesterday. I haven't used her yet.
I mean, she's not bad. She's a fun character to mess with.
I need a break before raids. And
Well,
now
man,
I'm like, oh
man,
my
Now
God.
you're being dramatic, brother. Brother, you're being dramatic. She's not terrible. She's just not great.
Well, and she's not going to be good for raids unless Jericho giving them taunt works, because...
I think Jericho is scarier than Blackfire, to be honest with you.
Face, man. Yeah, I guess... Well, we'll get to him in just a minute. Let's talk about Huntress. We'll start with you, Sheriff Lobo.
I mean, I don't have a whole lot to add since the last time we talked about her. I think she's great. I think she's probably underrated. She can be so deadly if she gets a turn, and she doesn't even have to kill somebody. You can finish them off, with somebody with low health, and, that move procs pretty frequently. Once you get a kill, she is super scary, super deadly. Really, this siege, though, I never really worried much about her because it was a heavy green siege, lots of shields, and black flash, but she was really helpful on offense a lot. She could really make the difference between, the enemy team getting a turn or not, with her kind of finishing off those toons that were kind of low health that might be on the verge of taking a turn like black flash or something like that.
How about you, Luke?
Oh, I think she's pretty awesome. I think I rated her an A. I really don't have a lot to add other than she does a really good job. Her I don't even know what move it is where her passive just kills people with low health. That's probably her best.
Kage.
The best part about her.
Who are we talking about, Huntress?
Yeah.
She's super inconsistent. That's my gripe with her. On defense, she's going to nuke DOJ or any blue you got out the gate, and you're like, God damn it. Why'd I RB2 this bitch if she's not going to survive a Huntress hit? But then, so on defense, she's scary, right? But on offense, you're using her nuke, and it's like, oh, cool. Well, what's the point in bringing her if you're not going to, you're just going to sit there and, tap, tap, tap these people to death. So, I don't know. She's super inconsistent, but like Sheriff Lobo said, she's good for wiping out enemies that are, just a hit away from death. I mean, that's great, but goddamn. That's what I got.
Sheriff Lobo. I mean, not Sheriff Lobo. M4.
All the great things he said, I agree with them. She's really good for mop-up. Let's say you have a Starfire, you AoE, and for some reason someone's still standing. She'll clean that up. When she first came out, I was so close to rebirth 5ing her because I have the shards. But the reason I did it is, one, her AI still sucks. She would go for greens, I don't know why. And the second is she's one of those you're already winning, and she just makes sure you get there faster. I really didn't use her a whole lot this siege. I didn't see the reason because the enemy team never takes a turn. Kid Flash just, you know, does a good job of making me not lose. If you're in a hurry, Huntress, very good. But otherwise, you're probably already winning.
I do like Huntress more than this siege. Kind of opened my eyes to both Huntress and World's Greatest Detective and Kid Flash. We'll get to in a little bit too. That they're a little bit better characters than I originally gave them credit for. I like Huntress because for whatever reason, when I'm in battles with, especially in siege, they always seem to hang on to a sliver of life, and it drives me crazy. And Huntress solves that problem. So definitely strong A character. She's easily farmable. So if you're a new player, take her up. She will help you. Moving on to Jericho. And let's start with you, Loot.
I don't like him. I don't like him at all. To me, he does the one thing that I think he does well is his buff move with the awareness. But that to me is extremely useful. But he does this kid's really weird. He starts giving taunts out. Like to the wrong people at the wrong time. He cost me fights because I couldn't access a toon that should have never had a taunt. So it was counterproductive for me, and I actually did lose because of him. So there's nothing, in my opinion, that would make him anything better than like a C. That taunt thing it almost even makes him trash.
M4.
He is a double-edged sword. I agree with Loot. If you don't plan ahead, you're in for a long night because you can't get to the dudes that you want to hit. But World's Greatest Detective fixes that. And he has a lot of good things. Start with silence. If that silence hits your Black Flash and you forgot to bring Terra, you're in trouble.
I lost a revenge due to that. Completely forgot.
And then, and this is the brilliance of WB. He has silence immunity because guess what? he's mute. And his 2 is great. Shields, awareness, and then his assist and stun, super useful. That's how I deal with DOJ, who is surprisingly annoying when she's at the leader spot. And then the basic guaranteed silence and stun. Well, the stun is 50%, but still procs quite often. So if you can get around the taunt, I think he's a good control character. So I gave him a B. Once we figure out, maybe there's some dudes that are gonna come out in the succeeding months that would punish taunts, then maybe he's gonna be even more valuable.
Sheriff?
I agree. I liked him. He has some really useful moves. I do not like that taunt move. And seemed like sometimes his silence would even work under Terra. I feel like a couple times, like it was inconsistent. Sometimes it would work and sometimes it didn't. Like if you had Terra and debuff immunity, sometimes I would still get silenced. I feel like maybe I'm misremembering things, but
didn't we M4? We just figured out that was the order turn, something to do with placement and order.
I think it was just early on when Terra was wasn't fixed, but
yeah, I think you're right because I never saw it after that.
Yeah,
I never saw it.
Okay. But yeah, I think he's B.
Yeah, I'm not he for a stunning character that has 2 stuns, you would think I would be jumping up at joy for him. But the taunt thing really kind of I don't like the taunt. It would get me killed more often than not. And he was super useful at times, but if you if the enemy got a turn and then, the wrong person gets taunted whenever I mess around with him in the Wraith, it didn't work out too well. I didn't find him to be particularly useful outside of Siege. He was kind of useful during the Siege at times, but I really didn't feel like I needed him very often. And, he's a B character. Not a bad B character, but just... And Kage, you didn't gear him, correct?
Oh, he had to go back to work. He left chat.
Oh, okay.
What's surprising to me is he's a stun character, and you don't like him, and he silences, and Tutti doesn't like him either. I feel bad for Jericho. It seems like he's tailor-made for you two, but...
I know from Atlantis After Dark, Black Flash loves him, so... I don't know if that means anything, but if you... For top rank 250 Siege, go for it.
There you
go. Moving on. Kid Flash. Let's start with you, Loot.
I'm sorry, which character?
Kid Flash.
Oh, he's awesome. Who would have thought? I think the reason why he shined so well, and I'm going to just credit M4 for saying it like 10 times already in this broadcast, there was no taunter on the other side. He's amazing when there's no taunter. He can really control a match. I will tell you one thing, though. Do not bring Kid Flash against Barda. Don't do it. You will regret it. I lost twice because I forgot that it's a deadlock. You can't win. You will lose every time. You don't actually lose. You just don't win. So don't ever bring Kid Flash against Barda. But other than that, he's really great. I do wish that he was faster than Black Flash.
You nailed it.
Because then the problem with Kid Flash is Black Flash exists. And that means that the only way to counter Black Flash really is you got to use Black Flash. So that meant that I always had to bring Black Flash. And if I brought back Black Flash, a lot of times I did bring Kid Flash just to make sure I locked the enemy team down. But it wasn't really all that necessary every time. So really solid kit. He just needs to be a little bit faster than Black Flash. And then he might even be S tier. He is that good.
Sheriff Lobo.
I don't know. Either you all are on crack or I am one. I can't figure out what the hell is going on with this Kid Flash stuff because maybe I didn't use him right, but he didn't seem any different to me. Nothing special besides being fast. Terra's debuff immunity really hurt him because you couldn't, put those speed downs on people. Like he could even be a liability with like powering up Starfire and Blackfire. So I don't know. Nothing's changed for me, and I really don't ever see using him outside of Siege. So maybe it was just like kind of the combo of World's Greatest Detective, Black Flash, Kid Flash with the bonus tunes, but I don't see him coming off my bench any.
While I don't see myself using him much, I will say the reason that I've bumped him to a B from a C is that I learned during this siege that there were times where you were worried about Starfire or you were worried about Darkseid getting a turn, and you could just perpetually use Kid Flash's basic to deny them turn meter and keep them from getting a turn. And that made him extremely useful. I used him a lot. Like in most... I mean, a lot of teams I didn't use him because I wanted to use Starfire and Blackfire and I knew I could get away with it without using him. But in matches I was worried or nervous, Kid Flash was on that team. M4, I'm sure you have a lot more to chime in on because you were quite high on him.
Yeah, I used him in all my matches. In his basic, I love compound with World's Greatest Detective, and he just shot them down. No one takes a turn. You never feel like you would ever be in danger, and I believe he's one of the reasons why this siege, for me at least, became boring because I know what the outcome is. I'm gonna play for a minute, just me tapping, and the enemy's not even gonna make a move. And then his 2, you can steal speed ups from the enemy. Uh, and with Black, so his problem is he's the slowest speedster. I think that's why we were so down on him when he got his rework. He was the slowest speedster, but I found that as soon as he gets a turn, he's no longer the worst speedster. He can neuter faster speedsters by stealing their speed ups, keep punching them, and then they won't get a turn. He counters speedsters very well. And Terra, your problem, Sheriff Lobo, is that they don't lose their debuff immunity because they don't take a turn. So you just keep punching them. Just need a little patience, and you just think Whittle. He has 0 damage, but you forgive him because he just annoys the heck out of them by tickling them, and they can't move.
All right, moving on to Starfire, who was a great character. I'll go first with her. I was really, really happy with her rework. When I initially saw it, I thought she was just going to be more of a counter to evasion, which she does a great job against evasion, but her damage ramped up significantly, and if she crits, I mean, she can destroy everything, even blues. Definitely taking her to RB5. She does a lot of good stuff. The stun procs surprisingly a lot, and if it's against evasion character that has any evasions on, procs every time. She does great damage. I think I'm gonna actually start building healing style teams around her just because I think it'd be fun. So overall, just she greatly improved from her old kit. A lot better character, a lot of fun. Sheriff Lobo, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really like her a lot. I've been using her the last couple of days with White Lantern Sinestro. They pair great because every one of his moves has a heal on it, even if it's super tiny. So he just supercharges her. I really like using her when Cassie is on the enemy team because you can hit her when she's still under that invisibility, and it doesn't matter how many evasions up she have. If you power her up with 5 intelligence up, Cassie is taken care of. So I think she's really good.
How about you, M4?
Yeah, yesterday I was using Blackfire to showcase what she can do, and it turned quickly into a Starfire show. She's so damn good. She's the exact opposite of Blackfire. Blackfire has trouble stacking up those empower strength ups, and Starfire is the exact opposite. She doesn't even need to be in a heal team, because if you hit her teammates, she gains int ups like crazy. And just 2 procs and she's ready to nuke. And she gains third meter too. So you really have, even in Siege, I didn't use her a lot because I don't feel the need to beat the enemy team quickly. But when she's on the other side, you have to be really mindful of your turns. Make sure she doesn't get a turn because things are going to go sideways real fast if she gets a turn. And then everyone knows she can't miss. And then the really random purge move on her basic. I don't know. Some VIP probably suggested that. And then her improved stun chances. So yeah, she's almost close to S tier the way she is right now.
Loot. Are you there?
You're on mute, Loot.
I am unmuted.
Here's
So I started out using Starfire a lot. I found I was using her like a lot, like enough that I actually rebirthed her. And then once I kind of like settled into the meta, I stopped using her. So she was not all that useful to me in Siege anymore. But overall, I do think that her kit is substantially better than it was before. It's more consistent. It's better damage. It's good utility. That heal passive thing is pretty cool. So I like her. I think she works good with Blackfire in the one fight that I tried out Blackfire. because I literally just did it last night. So yeah, she's really good.
All right. Before we move on to the other two add-ons, let's do the last Siege character, which is Wonder Woman DOJ. And Loot, let's start with you on her.
Back the truck up! Back it up! The D. Oh, trash! She is so bad. The worst part about her is that she's so good on defense. She's flat out one of the worst characters in the game on offense. Even at RB5, who Bullseye has, she dies in a heartbeat. You just look at her and she dies. She does nothing right on offense. Zero. Her moves are outdated. Her kit is outdated. Her stats are extremely outdated. But for whatever reason, WB won't give her a rework.
Yeah, I'm kind of
She's
surprised by
had
that.
opportunities. She's had movies that came out after the first movie. Good opportunities to fix something that when she first came out, she wasn't all that bad. She was pretty good. And then time happened, power creep happened, better kits happened, new abilities happened. So I truly believe that she absolutely belongs in the trash. That's my review.
Looks like Kage also agrees with you. M4, why don't you start?
She is, as Lute said, she's annoying in defense, but only when she's leader. I can't believe how well that heal.
I know.
And if you're... Because I don't use Huntress, so oftentimes when I fight her and she's the last one that's standing, that's where I use Jericho to stun her. And she's surprisingly tanky, which is like, what the hell's going on here? But I guess that's what happens when you don't have your regular red hitters. But that's the only reason she's a C character. She does some things well, transfer, copy buffs, good purge, can't miss. But outside of that siege, I think she would be borderline trash. And I see Kage voted her trash just to get her to get rework sooner. But yeah, she's not complete trash, but yeah, she's borderline. She's almost there.
I almost voted trash. What kind of keeps me from it is she is pretty decent on defense. What took me out of contention for World's Finest, which speaking of which, congratulations to Almost Deaf for getting Siege World Finest, which we said in the last M4 stream, but thought we'd mention it here. But what took me out of contention was exactly Wonder Woman DOJ. I was fighting Burger's team. Both World's Greatest Detective and Huntress couldn't do anything to DOJ, and then Starfire got a turn. And that was the end of my siege run, because Starfire killed everyone, including my blue, in one hit. So, yeah, I also... She's borderline trash, but I think she's just slightly above trash tier. Sheriff Lobo, what do you think?
Yeah, she's borderline trash. I agree. The one match that I lost on, the main board was against You Hate. I said this in our three-way chat. 75% of the points that I lost this time was because of hate mail, my own teammate. But I was facing your Blackfire team, and I forgot about DOJ's shield on her basic. She buff immunity'd her, and then it was an all green team, took out almost an all blue heavy team. So in that respect, she's not great because you don't really have to have reds or heavy hitters to take her out if you have a little bit of patience. But also I could frequently one-shot her with Huntress while she was buffed all the way up and before, somebody else got another kill. So she's just in a really bad spot. And she used to be great. Somebody said this before, like she was awesome when she first came out. It was back when it was like Gear 10 and it was the, Arrow
Reverse
Bros
Flash,
and
yeah.
the Flash Bros. and she really solved that problem and was awesome. But she's just super power crept and outclassed by everything that's come out since then.
All right, let's move on to, looks like you added Clayface to the list.
I did, because I think it's a travesty that he's marked a B. I think the only reason that we voted him a B before is because of Wonder Girl. But even with Wonder Girl, I think there's enough to support Clayface that he's back to his old glory. His other weakness is Dark Side, because if he gets stunned, he can't clap. But now there's Terra and so many other ways to keep him alive, and then he also in turn keeps others alive. So I don't know why we kept him at B for so long. And also, people forget, maybe you even forgot, hate mail. Clayface AoE does overheal. So that means he procs Starfire.
See, I was voting him down from a B because when I see him, I'm like, oh great, a taunter that I can one-shot every time with Darkside, because I don't care about stunning him. I just one-shot him with Darkside. It's basic, and he instantly dies because the second hit is a passive, and he doesn't clap, so he's so easy to kill now.
Everyone thinks he's an A though. No.
Loot, you think he's an A now?
You mean he's trash? Actually, I like Clayface. I do think he's an A just because of how useful he is and everything that he does. But I will say this. He is overdue for a rework. And at the very least, if he had a huge stat boost, he can keep all his skills exactly as they are.
Yeah, ever since Darkseid came out, I don't feel safe bringing him at all. He gets obliterated.
Darkseid kind of doesn't count. He kills everything. Everybody and everything. He doesn't care what color you are. He just goes to town. He'll kill my RB5 Darkseid will kill anything.
Sure.
Red, blue, green, doesn't matter.
I'm kind of with you, Hate. I almost downvoted him, but I kept him the same. I mean, I like to see him on enemy teams because you can bring Wonder Girl, you can bring Darkseid, and he's really a liability there. I think the one thing that I have been using him for recently is kind of the invisibility to go ahead and supercharge Batwoman or to give Red Robin that invisibility. But otherwise, I think that Terra and Barda both do better protection for your team than Clayface does. With Azrael's True Sight, he can still go around Clayface and take out anybody you want him to take out. So, for me, I don't see him as changing a whole lot.
All right, I guess he's back to an A because Kage voted A as well. So we'll see how that pans out for him. Moving on to Enchantress. In M4 you added her, so I'll let you start again.
Okay. Last week I did a no S tier, no A tier challenge, and now I have greater appreciation of what we're doing because I almost didn't finish the challenge. I could not beat a lot of the teams without S and A tiers. And the only reason I finished it is because of Enchantress. No Cheetah, no Martian Manhunter. My only recourse was to use Enchantress, and guess what? 75% of the time, she's good enough to deal with any problem. The only reason I think we hated on her because she's inconsistent. But even without her leader, even if it doesn't proc, as soon as she gets a turn, she becomes super useful. Transfer Diva, counters Harley, and then get the DI. If you don't get it initially, just get a turn, maybe even on a call assist, you can get the damage immunity, and then your team is rolling. So yeah, she has the tools to deal with a lot of problems. I think that merits an A.
How about you, Sheriff Lobo?
I'm on the fence. Like, I really like her and really like to use her, and when she works, it's so awesome, but she just seems too inconsistent. And another thing is her heals suck, like really, really bad. So I've tried to use her off lead as a healer, and she just can't heal at all. She never protects the team like I really want her to, like she does on defense. So for that reason, I think I'm going to keep my vote at a B.
You did not vote, so you are the tiebreaker.
Yeah,
A or B?
I haven't used her recently. A B. Her heals are terrible. I mean, they never fixed her, so she's a B.
So we will leave her a B for now. All
Mr.
right.
Zubas, I tried. I want to put that on record.
Well, you can tell him that you got Clayface A for him, which I'll probably disagree with. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is it. Thanks for listening, everyone. Any comments or plugs anybody wants to throw out before we end this show? I'll take that as a no. Well,
Nope.
Appreciate everyone for listening. Until next time.
Hey everyone, it's Tootytron. Thank you for listening to WROL Broadcasts. If you like the show, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/WROL Broadcasts. You guys think if I go out of my way next siege to lose to hate a bunch, that he might send me those dirty socks of his? I hope so.